the N-word. You kind of became like the N-word guy.
I did, yeah.
So, and that was why you were arguing with like Hasan Piker and stuff. Like,
well, he
you have a
jumped in
whole
to try
long
to ambush
history
me
with
because
him,
it was
right?
a podcast with like 3 black guys on it, and he's like, "I'm going to jump in," and I didn't even know that was going to be a topic, so they all came up out of nowhere for that one. But yeah.
But you were essentially on the side of like people should be able to like make jokes, or was this something different?
This is like where we've kind of moved at. Okay, I didn't get into politics because I wanted to help minorities, or because I care so much about LGBT issues, or because I'm trying to save the planet from fucking climate change, or because I think I'm the white savior of whatever, black people, African people, whatever. I got into politics because I thought that people had conversations that weren't reflective of reality. Now, as a result of my analysis of certain problems, I've come into positions that are incredibly pro-LGBT, incredibly pro-minority, and not just when I'm around them, but when I'm not around them. That it put me into incredibly pro-welfare positions economically. Like, these are the positions that I've wound up at because these are the positions that I've thought myself into. Tying back into what I just said, why I got into politics was because I wanted conversations to be reflective of reality. I noticed that a lot of the criticisms that I get for the way that I behave are not reflective of reality. And this is incredibly difficult for me to sort through while I'm also trying to deal with thousands of comments of negative criticism, both from my community and without my community, sometimes from people in my community that are part of my community, and brigaders from outside my community that are in my community as well. Same thing with outside communities too, right? But I also have to deal with it from other content creators that don't seem to be interested in engaging in honest arguments. And that brings us to like the post that I made today. So the reason why I made this post was because I have to go through a great deal of effort after I engage with certain people to make sure, hey, like, am I full of shit? Like, maybe I am just like totally fucking getting high off my own fucking shit right now. Like, I might be totally wrong with this. Like, a lot of people are saying that, you know, I engage in dirty debate tactics, that I'm a huge piece of shit, that I scream over people. Like, fuck, like maybe I am. Fuck it. And usually when I start to get these ideas, because I don't think I'm some exceptional genius that can walk into a crowd of 10 million people and just be right. I don't think that of me at all. I think I'm probably somewhat above average intelligence, but like, I don't think I'm fucking Einstein or whatever. I think I'm just a reasonably intelligent person. I can read pretty well. It's about what I have going for me. I got a lot of Wikipedia articles under my belt, okay? So when I run into situations like this, sometimes it's good for me to take a step back and go through the evidence. Well, okay, people say that, so let's a couple of examples. And I sometimes ask my community for this. People said that I talk over people, that I talk too much. That's really interesting. When I had people go back and look at my debate with Nicholas Fuentes, he spoke for twice as much as I did, literally 2 hours to 1 hour. When I had people go over my debate with Michael Brooks, I think he spoke for like 35 minutes to like my 15. It was insane. When I had people go over my debates with, there was one other, but oftentimes at the end of my debates, I'll have my audience go through like, hey, can you go and check? Like, can somebody like go and actually map this out? Did I really speak? Because I don't feel like I did. I feel like I have a pretty good like vision of myself from the outside. Like, I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what's going on. And it's very strange when I'm in an argument and somebody has been interrupting me over and over again. And then they start to gaslight me and say like, yo, for instance, like this quarantine piece of shit did when he's like, yo, why are you interrupting me? Why are you yelling at me? And he'll say this after interrupting me twice, after not even letting me finish a point. And it's very hard. I have to go back and just watch video. It's very time consuming. It's very irritating. And I basically have to figure out like how much of these complaints are true, how much am I being intentionally gaslit, and how much is the other person just having an emotional response to me. Maybe they haven't thought through this at all. So I made this big post. I spent about 7 hours last night asking my audience for clips, going through clips myself. I said, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I am full of shit. I rewatched probably about 2 hours of the debate myself to make sure that I had like a coming in fresh. Do I have a fair characterization of what happened here? Let's check it out, okay? So Quarantine and Cole. Mindwaves TV invited me onto the Big Brain podcast to have a discussion about political issues with a cast of other people. I've been on here once before and I had a good time, so I accepted the invitation. When you hear people like character assassinating me, saying that like I'm grifting or I'm inconsistent, like I guess that like these conversations over the past few days, these aren't unique to me. Like I've had conservatives do this to me. Now I've had lefties do it to me. Everybody takes all this shit and they form their own fucking world out of it. And I guess it just bothers me. Like if you want to hate me because of a position that I have on private or public language, then dude, fucking amen. You can hate me on that. That's fine. That's totally okay. We can have that disagreement on that issue. But if you want to hate me because you think I shout down black people, or that I don't care about my friends, or that I'm secretly like super fucking Hitler, or that that I'm grifting, that I don't actually mean anything, that Trihex, by the way, told me in our conversation, it feels like I don't actually believe in any of these positions. It's just a performance, that I'm not actually consistent on anything, and I just do this for clout or for social capital. When I've lost, well, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've lost a lot. I have, but I mean, clearly I'm doing okay. But like, man, what an interesting time to be alive, where history can be revised in such a way that Quarantine and Cole can be made to be good and fair debaters. Or when the serfs can be like this arbitrator, this third party narrator that like understands from an objective point of view what's going on. Or when Hasan can come in and give a really intelligent take on some political issue, or really tell people, like, well, what happened in this conversation, or what's going on. Or when Alabrel or Bad Bunny are seen as these pillars of LGBT rights or trans issues. Or where Mike from CCP looks like he has any principles at all. And, I'm just naming some people, but like there's a million motherfuckers that I could go through that have done this shit to me. And I'm never going to do a write-up like this again. I don't have the time. I don't have the patience. I don't have the energy. Somehow I've been awake for like 48 hours or some shit, or 32. I don't know how long I've been awake. I'm not really tired because, like it's been fun, but like this shit happens so much and it's painful. It's painful because like I've said it a million times, but like when I got into politics, like I wanted to get into politics because I felt like people weren't having real conversations. It wasn't because I wanted to further left issues. It wasn't because I wanted to further right issues. I just felt like people invented reality a lot. And having been in this space for 4 years, by the way, that exists on Twitch largely because of me. It does. So you can pretend that you're on your own or you're doing some shit, but I carved this space out, okay? I endured the harassment from Asmongold's community, from Greek God X's community, from Trainwreck's community, from the Livestream Fails community, from the Rajra. I did that on my own without any fucking friends, okay? Before the LARPers showed up, before all these lefty dipshits came to Twitch, after I'd carved that space out for them, okay? So yeah, I did, okay? To sit here and make up lies about me or fabricate stories or invent positions, like, man, how fucked are you in the head to do that? I agree that some things can be problematic, but problematic doesn't mean bad, right? Like there's a lot of really funny, like racial or sexist or whatever humor that could be problematic.
I mean, Louis has the best,
absolutely,
joke, yeah.
Sure, yeah. Dave Chappelle is problematic. George Carlin was problematic, right? But like, just because something is problematic doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It just means you have to like engage with it in a responsible manner, right? Like I'm probably not going to show like a 5-year-old, like a Dave Chappelle skit on like eating pussy or something, right? I'm probably not gonna, right? There's gonna be like appropriate ways to engage with it. And basically what I was saying is that like I think that whole thing started from somebody accused me of like, would you ever say the N-word in private? It's like, if I know a funny joke, yeah, sure. Like I don't personally, but if I did, I would. But like the idea is just that like there's going to be types of humor that I think are appropriate to share on stream. And then there's gonna be types of humor that I don't think are appropriate, that would be more appropriate in a private setting, because I know the people, I have like more control over it.
Yeah, and that's an audience when you like developed a rapport with them.
Yeah, exactly. And like I know a lot of really funny sexist and racist jokes, but like if I say these on stream all the time, I'm going to turn my audience like racist. I don't want to do that,
And there's people just popping in.
I'm sure a lot of people will be like, I don't like this, and
yeah, exactly.
It's just not that thing.
Yeah, for
the stream's
sure.
not the venue for that.
But his whole thing was, saying that Cracker he was saying like that only slurs should be that's not a slur, and you were like, it's obviously not as bad, but like it is a slur, it's just not as bad.
Yeah, it is, obviously is a slur. You're targeting somebody's skin color.
Yeah,
but
you're like, does it hurt my feelings? No, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know this until I started fighting with leftists, but like, so like Hasan will defend his whole chat calling me gusano, which is a slur for Cuban people. I didn't even know this was a real slur until, but these people defend that saying, well, it's not racist, it's because it has to do with the fact that some Cubans were slave owners. And it's like, I don't think my family had any fucking slave. And you're saying this because of my background. How is this not a slur?
It is one of those things. You're like, I'm just saying that's what the logic leads you. I'm not saying that necessarily I give a shit.
Yeah. We simplified. It's so weird because I remember like the 90s and the 2000s. It felt like we were expanding certain things a lot, and now we've like narrowed some of those same things. So like language, I think for a long time we were kind of advocating for like a little bit more of a nuanced understanding of like how language works. Like some things are probably bad and shouldn't maybe be said or only in certain contexts, but then like maybe there could be room for other things. But now we've gone backwards, and it's like everything that's problematic needs to go immediately. Did you follow?
And that's because it got used. It became a political tool, right?
Everything is. Yeah. Did you watch the Washington Post thing with Felicia Sumnez, I think.
Yeah, the whole with the Dave
Guy
Weigel-
reporter.
Dave Weigel.
Oh, he loved that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The guy tweeted, he retweeted. Now, I will say, on a verified WAPO account, retweeting that joke was pretty dumb. He shouldn't have done that.
I mean, well, it's his personal account. You know, we were saying
No, it was
pretty
his
mild.
verified account.
Oh, it was his
It was a
But what
verified
happened?
account.
Remember, all the journalists always had retweets or not endorsements.
Yeah, but that's like when you put a video on YouTube and you're like, no copyright infringement intended. Okay,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
whatever you
But I'm
retweet is.
saying,
all this trick in the book.
Yeah, all this trick in the book. But but again, I don't know what he was thinking, considering their newsroom is like mostly women.
Yeah.
And it's
It was-
the Washington Post.
And it was dumb. And honestly, I think he should have been reprimanded just for being stupid enough to tweet on the account. But that lady, when
pretty
she
mild.
retweeted him, when she retweeted him, nothing is mild today. Okay,
Yeah,
you know that,
yeah.
right? That lady, when she
It's mild
retweeted
for
him,
us.
she went for blood, dude.
Yeah.
She retweeted him, had a statement of like, I don't feel comfortable working here as a woman. And I'm like, damn, dude, this is your fucking coworker.
And
What
he
is
defended
wrong?
her.
He did a few years earlier.
A few years earlier when
And
she got in a bunch of stuff.
depending on how hard you want to dig on her, she was also involved in some bullshit rape accusation against another journalist. Like I think in 2018, there was a guy whose entire life was destroyed because of 2 hookups, hers being one of them, where she came out and basically had a whole story where they both got wasted and had sex. And she's like, dude, her story is so funny. It was like, oh fuck, I hope I'm not mixing hers up with the other story, but I think they both got wasted, they both hooked up, and I want to say that she left the apartment that night, and then when she got back, I'm starting to remember the other story, but I think it was the other one. Another woman filed a rape accusation against him where he was on the bed, and she was like, I didn't want to do this, and she got out of bed, and he was like, oh, well, are you sure? And she was like, I felt so pressured when he asked me that I feel like I had to go back into bed and have sex with him. even against
Dude, we had a guy. I got in all this shit in Canada for this, but with the guy we know, or we don't know, but this guy, he got in the height of the Me Too stuff. He had a girlfriend who straight up did this whole like Medium post about how her boyfriend raped her because he was like wanting to have sex, and she's like, I'm not feeling really pretty, and he was kind of like pouting. And so he was pouting. And so she
Wait, who was this guy?
Oh, you wouldn't know him. He's a comedian from Montreal.
Oh, okay, because what you're describing is the exact same thing.
Yeah,
the
but I'm
journalist
saying
got.
that's
He
what I'm
just like
saying.
kind of got it pouty or
He
whatever.
goes,
He's like, oh, okay.
he's like, you don't find me attractive, and she goes, and then so I kind of like didn't want to have sex that night, but it's her boyfriend, right? And because I remember reading this, and I was like, it was so shocking that she would call him out, and you're like, you Google this guy's
Didn't
name.
you make
I made a video being like, he didn't rape
That was
you.
his first cancellation.
Yeah, that was my first cancellation in Canada. I go like, that's not a rape, because my whole thing was like, well then I've been raped. Because I've definitely been on the receiving end of a girlfriend being like, oh, like what, you don't want
Everybody in a
everybody has.
relationship
That was
has
my.
done like, okay,
that is
yeah.
my point, right?
Yeah.
And I go, this is like so disgusting that she was like using this for some kind of weird clout. And then it got to the point where she actually took because of me, she removed his name from the article.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, it's just like disgusting. Like, and there's women who, and I had all these like female comics messaging me privately, being like, yeah, thank you for doing this, but I can't support you.
Of course,
obviously.
yeah.
Like all this stuff.
Which is almost more frustrating sometimes.
I didn't care. Yeah, whatever. I didn't care. I
The
like,
game's the game.
I got in big trouble for a tweet because I think it was something akin to that, and I was basically saying like, if you want, like, you can be treated like a retarded child, but that's essentially what you're asking men to do.
you have no agency.
Is that like, yeah,
Women
like
go-
I'm gonna walk you here. I need to check with you. Do I need to call your parents to make sure everything is okay? Do you need a friend here to sign off on shit? Like,
Well-
it's ridiculous.
well,
and not to mention that,
yeah.
like, this is with guys who, like, no offense to men, but a lot of men, especially when they get horny, are not thinking 100% straight. They're trying to like land it. They're trying to get what they can. They're trying to figure shit out. And now they have to be the ultimate arbiters of their own decision making, which can be highly compromised at times.
Yes.
Especially when we talk about alcohol horniness. But now they have to be in charge of the other person too, and she wants to be able to vote.
Yeah.
Like you gotta pick something here.
Well,
Like, are you an adult that can carry yourself through life and figure out how you want to do, or are you getting raped because a guy on a bed is making a pouty face at you and you feel bad walking away?
100%. I mean, that debate, women have for past several years been like, go from like, we have agency to we have no agency. Like they'll go depending on the argument. They'll be like, in this instance we have none. In this instance we have full agent. Like,
Yeah.
which one is it?
And I will say, because akin to what you said, I do think, just personally based on the people I've talked to, it does feel like the majority of women feel like these particular women are insane.
Agreed, 100%.
But you can't put yourself in front of the train like that and be the woman that comes out,
No.
because now you're like
Not
the
in the
pick-me
height of
girl.
that thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
not in the
Hold
height
that
of the
in
Me
there,
Too
sure.
stuff. You're not going to be like,
Yeah,
putting-
and even now, because now
sticking
you're
neck
basically
out.
what, a rape apologist. You just want to
Exactly.
have guys like all
That's
over
what
you.
I am.
Yeah. and it's like it's horrible. Yeah, and I feel bad for I feel bad too for the women too that have like legitimately like horrible stories, of which
Me too.
And we don't even talk about it anymore. There are a lot of women with really horrible stories about guys that, especially in industry guys, not in your well, probably in your industry.
Yes, in our industry,
for sure. Yeah,
our industry's ground zero.
yeah. Okay. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, in mine as well. Like in all these industries, and now,
Ground zero.
it's got to be so mindfucky that you're a woman sitting here listening to another woman like crying on her Medium post about like how her boyfriend, even though she was tired, really asked her for a blowjob before sleep, and it's like, why are you sitting? She's like, I'm traumatized now. I don't trust any men, and it's like, you bitch. Like,
but it's also one of those things too, where in the article she goes, and I didn't realize that at the time, but I now realize that I was raped like 2 years later, and you're like, fuck off.
I've invented a term. I hope psychologists pick it up. I call it retroactive trauma.
Yeah.
Where you're talking with friends and you get like hyped up and they're like, babe, you were raped. And you're like, are you sure? Yeah, 100%. It's like, oh my God. Was I? Like, yeah, you were absolutely raped. It's like, oh my God, I need to write about this right now. Like, and then I realized like 2 years later, it was actually the most traumatizing event of my life. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
There was a comedian in Toronto. I don't know if you were there, but it's just like an open mic comedian, and she was on stage, and she was kind of a bit cooked. I don't know, something going on. She was weird. She was like very comedy adjacent. You'd see her like once, like, you see her once a year or something for like a week. She would pop back into comedy, do a set, and she was on stage and she was talking about something like something, and she got off stage. Someone goes like, "Yo, that story you told, like you were raped there." And she was like, what? No. Like, and she was just talking about like some guy was weird. This is before the whole Me Too stuff. And then I remember like, I can't remember the exact context of it, but like she got off stage and everybody was like, yeah, that story you told was like you were sexually assaulted. And she's like, oh, what? She didn't even care. She was like, oh, I don't know.
To be clear, I think that there can be cases where it's valid. If somebody starts saying things like, yeah, like it was, you guys remember like how your uncles would fuck you when you were like 9 years old? Like, yeah, maybe you need to think about something there,
100%. But she didn't even, people told her and she goes, oh, I don't know.
When people try to, did you guys ever hear about satanic sex cults?
There's, I know the like famous ones.
Yeah, there was a whole thing, I want to say in the 60s or the 90s, I don't remember. It was a while ago. But basically, a bunch of like therapists, psychologists have gotten this idea that like we think that all of these children and these babysitters are in this like weird like satanic sex cult stuff. And there was this huge craze where everybody was going to therapists whenever their kid was in one. And the research that came out afterwards is basically showing that like you can fabricate memories if you believe strongly enough that something happened.
Yeah, and
in
if the parents are like seeding it,
and all of it was fake. There were no like for the kids and the babies like these big satanic sex cults. It was all just fostered memories from the parents.
Crazy.
So that retroactive like I think you were raped, babe. It's like I think my boyfriend was just kind of grumpy. I don't know if I was raped. It's like no. Yeah. You were raped.
I mean, my main issue with it was I would have to then in that scenario accept that I've been raped multiple times, and I'm just like, no, I'm not. Well, I'm not going to be a rape apologist and survivor in the same thing. Like
you can convince yourself of a lot, though. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, how many girls are just people probably more of a girl thing, but just like the ex-boyfriend, there was like convinced themselves that like he was like the worst guy ever, blah blah, and you're like, no, that was a crappy relationship. You both sucked.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you need to think this to like, and you're just like. I've even been with girls where they're just like, and my ex was this and this. And it's like, okay, well, I know you. And I'm pretty sure that you're.
I'm kind of on his side a bit on some of this.
Yeah, I'm currently dating you, so you're lucky that I'm not doing that. Anyway, okay, fuck yeah, dude.
It's this is the sad thing about this is it's the same thing as like the trans stuff we talked about, the abortion stuff, to where I'm worried that we're about to swing back. The pendulum is going to swing back, but it's going to swing back too far, and now you're going to be in the same area where you're going to have women with legitimate complaints, legitimate grievances, legitimately horrible stories, who people are going to look at you like, oh, it's another one of those.
Of course,
because so many people fuck it up for everybody.
Will it swing back that far in like liberal places though? I think it's more, if anything, it seems like it's
schisming the country, like it's just breaking us apart more. Maybe.
Yeah, I felt like it was schisming the country, and most of the people, because I feel like doing comedy is just like, I always reference that, but it's like it's such a good litmus test of if you're good at it. I feel like you say something and you can tell if everyone already thinks this or not, right? And there was a time where you'd be like, people are out of control, and everyone's like, well, they should be out of control, Mm-hmm. And then there was a time where you'd be kind of saying things like, this fucking. Like, everyone's pretty wild right now, and everyone's like, oh, fuck. Like, like everyone's so agrees.
Oh, it's like my mom.
It's not worth saying it.
My
you know what I
mom
mean?
started sending me like a year ago,
Whatever they
like Jordan
think.
Peterson podcast, being like, you know who this guy is? I go, all right, we're reaching the end of this cycle.
Yeah.
When my mom
Grumpy Twitter guy.
Yeah. When my mom started sending me that stuff, I go, we're reaching the end of the cycle. We're on to a new one.
Yeah, like
I
in
remember-
music, it's like you always have, metal is next after that is something soft, and
Sure.
hardcore rap, it's always like a Drakey guy. Like it always goes
Yeah.
back and forth. But this one felt a little different, where it felt like everyone was just, okay, we're done with metal and this, but maybe some of these issues and maybe that's just the election cycle too, and I'm wrong.